Hi, my name is Matt Farrell.
And I'm Ricky Alexander.
And welcome to On The Back Porch Season 3.
This week, we are so excited to have Champian Fulton, an incredible pianist. She just recorded her 17th album.
I should have worn bigger shoes.
She's from Oklahoma, and she was family friends with Clark Terry, and we're just so excited to talk to her.
You're from Oklahoma originally.
I am.
Where in Oklahoma are you from?
Norman, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Very close to where Jimmy Rushing grew up, kind of.
Ah, that's why you're so excited about the Jimmy Rushing.
I'm a big Jimmy Rushing fan.
So what's one thing I'm intrigued about, because I mean, Kansas City is a tradition. There's so much more tradition of jazz in that part of the country than you realize. And your father was a jazz musician.
He plays trumpet.
Was there a tradition that you grew up with in Oklahoma that kind of pushed you into the world you're in now, or?
Yeah, definitely. So my father was really good friends with Clark Terry, and then Clark's friends like Joe Williams and Major Hawley and Marshall Royal and those people. And so I grew up like around those people, and I thought that was my family. Like I thought Clark was like my grandfather, and they were always having so much fun, and I thought I want to be with them and having fun. And then there is so much history there, like Jay McShann's from Oklahoma, Jimmy Rushing, Charlie Christian, Walter Page, Hot Lips Page. So I just really wanted to be a part of that.
So Clark Terry was hanging around the house. You guys were like family, and you got to play his 75th birthday.
Yeah, Clark was turning 75. I was turning 10. We were 65 years apart. And he loved to party. And I had decided I was going to be a jazz musician. And I can't imagine like a 7-year-old girl telling Clark Terry she's going to be a jazz musician. I don't know what he was thinking. Around that time, I started practicing and learning stuff. And I discovered that there were 12 keys, because I didn't know that until I figured it out. And I cried. And I'm sure he thought that was very amusing. But I had a little band. We were all under the age of 12, and he was really supportive of us. And he asked me to play his 75th birthday party in Iowa, where we were living at the time. And it was he was a very serious person, and he was very serious about the gig, like when we were going to play and for how long, and the load-in time, and what it paid, and it paid. And we played the gig, and he sat there, just like there in front of us the whole time. Really nice. And then afterwards, he paid me. And I had a Barbie house at the time with the elevator, and it had a flat roof. And I remember he used that as the table to like count the money out. And he explained to me that like this was for all the sidemen. I think it was a quartet. And he said the leader should always make twice as much as the sidemen. And he was like, and then when you pay your sidemen, you should, anything you want to say to them, like critically or complimentary, and you do it when you're paying them. And he was like telling me these things that he learned, like from Duke Ellington, basically. And I was like 10, and I was like, okay.
That's good advice, though.
I was like, okay, and I went and I did it, and then my dad took my money promptly. So.
My life's without a destination. Somehow I'm roaming aimlessly. Without your love for inspiration, I wonder what my fate will be. Every now and then, there's a longing in my heart. Every now and then, ever since we've been apart, don't you know how much I miss you? I long to kiss you every now and then. Every now and then, I keep wondering how you are, and asking everyone, are you happy where you are? What's the use of my denying? I find myself crying every now and then, and every now and then I kiss your photograph, the one you autographed. I love you, dear. of you? Do you ever think of me? Is the spark of love still burning? Do you long for my returning every now and then?
For you, with your tradition of piano, or did you start? What was your first kind of stuff you're playing jazz, and then how have you kind of? What are some influences you're playing and your style? How do you describe it as you've grown?
So I started out when I was really little, like I told you, and with my father's friends, and we only had jazz in the house. So I didn't know there was any other kind of music until I went to school. We were doing show and tell, and I would bring in like my Basie records and my like Louis Armstrong records because I thought Madonna and Prince were terrible. And I was just like, what's wrong with you guys? Like, get hip, you know? And I was really obsessed with Miles Davis, like Red Garland, those bands.
What age was this, you said?
Like 5.
So badass.
I really wanted to be a jazz musician. I loved Wynton Kelly. I loved Billie Holiday. I loved Count Basie. And then when I was a teenager, I got more into like Errol Garner and Earl Hines. And Bud Powell, of course, I must say. But I think that was my path. And those are still all my favorites, you know, because I feel like those are such your formative years as an artist.
Yeah. When did you come to New York?
2003.
Love it. She's been here a minute.
I've been here a while.
You said you moved when you were 17.
I was 17.
So who inspired, who got you to move over, and what was your first year like?
So I was a jazz fanatic basically from age 5. So I was obsessed with moving to New York.
Mhm.
My mother insisted I go to college instead of just like moving to Manhattan. So I went to SUNY Purchase, and I have to say it was awesome. I was in heaven. My 18th birthday, I saw a Cedar Walton trio with Buster Williams and Jimmy Cobb. It was like the greatest time of my life. I saw Benny Golson. I saw Hank Jones all the time. I became friends with Frank West. I was hanging out with Lou Donaldson, Louis Hayes. It was like,
Wow. And you started working
Living the
pretty
dream.
soon after?
yeah, randomly, I worked all through high school, playing gigs like 3-4 nights a week. So I was like, when I get to college, I'm not going to work and I'm just going to practice. Because when you're working all the time, you're not practicing all the time. So I was like, I'm going to practice. I'm going to take a break. And I got here, and the second week I was in town, I was at Birdland to see Buster Williams. And the manager at the time was named Tarek. And we started talking because I like to talk to people. And he was like, oh, we need a happy hour pianist on Thursday. Are you available? And I was like, yeah, because I have literally no gigs. So, and so I started doing that gig, and then I just met other people. And for a while, during college especially, I was sort of like the queen of the $50 gig.
Yeah.
I had every $50 gig in town. Sometimes 3 a day.
It's a good time in your life to do that. You know, I feel like someone gave me really good advice when I was just getting started gigging, where they said like, just say yes to everything.
Yeah.
You know, this time, then you get to say no later, but just say yes for a little while.
Yeah.
Because every bad gig even kind of teaches you, okay, well, don't do that gig next time.
Yeah.
You know,
There's one of those. But I just liked working. I liked playing. I liked hanging out, you know?
Yeah. The stuff you learn on the gigs, do you find that, I mean, you can spend a lot of time practicing, but there are certain things that you have to learn on gigs, like
Yeah.
how to end a song or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that gave you a real edge having played gigs through your adolescence?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Because practicing is you practice practicing almost. And
Mhm.
practice playing is much more difficult. And also, I think when you are working, you understand the functionality of what you're doing and not just in a sort of a glass case.
You see it in other people,
Yeah.
your interaction. Yeah.
And making them happy or making them feel good or being a part of, their wedding or their anniversary or their birthday, whatever, And I always just really liked that.
You're just too marvelous for words. Like glorious and glamorous, that old standby amorous. It's all too wonderful. I'll never find the words that say enough, that tell enough. I mean, they just aren't swell enough. You're much, too much, and just too very, very to ever be in Webster's dictionary. And so I'm borrowing a love song from the birds to tell you that you're marvelous, too marvelous for words. just too marvelous for words. Like glorious, glamorous, that old standby amorous. It's all too wonderful. I never find the words that say enough, that tell enough. I mean, they just aren't swell enough. You're much too much, and just too very, very to ever be in Webster's dictionary. And so I'm